Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those of you new here, my name is Sam and I'm an instructional designer working in tech. I recently posted a video on the most common instructional design interview questions and a lot of you seemed to like it, so I thought it would be fun to do kind of a follow-up. I wanted to talk about what happens once you've gotten past that first interview stage and you've had a round of conversations and what happens next. So once you've gotten past your first round of interviews and talking to people, usually the hiring manager, then you'll get assigned a take-home project. Now this might not always be the case, but in a majority of my experience and both on the interviewee side and the interviewer side, we've done a take-home project. So let me give you a little bit of an explanation about this take-home project. So the most common instructional design take-home project is to create a piece of content or a course based on a topic that the company has given you. The company will usually give you a scenario, like we want to create a new training for people to learn how to use Gmail, or we want to create a training for people to understand this workflow, or here's this new feature, please create like an instructional piece of content about it, or how would you train on this? And along with the prompt, they'll also give you like instructions, what they want you to do, how they want you to go and think about it. And then it's up to you to kind of take that scenario and build your training content about it. So let's talk about how I would approach going about this and how I would suggest you go about this. So once you've gotten your prompt and you've gotten the instructions, I would highly recommend reading through the instructions, making a list of things that you need to include in your course or your instructional content, and then spend a little bit of time researching that topic or that content. You can either go on their website and look through docs that they have about that topic just to learn a little bit more and become familiar with like the tone of voice that they use and like the style of writing that they use. And then you'll want to start creating your outline. Then you start to think about like, what is the outcome of this piece of content or this training piece or this course that you're building? You want to come up with that outcome, why you're creating the course, why you're creating the content. It may be that they've given you that information in the instructions, but you always want to just make sure you have that listed out. And then you can start to outline your doc. I usually like to outline whatever type of piece of content I'm building in like a doc, just so that no matter what type of format I create my content, it's at least like written down somewhere so I can easily copy and paste and move it elsewhere. So once you've started to outline, that's when you can start listing out, who your audience is, the course objectives, and start to break down all the course objectives into, smaller, more detailed outlines. You can also include like where you would include an assessment or where you would include like some sort of video or, different types of content. Now, when you actually go to build, if they are asking you to actually build something, you can then, build it either as a written doc, you can build it as like a slide deck, you can, download free trials of different course building softwares and you can build a course that way. Of course, you can also create videos if that's how you feel like the content will best be presented, and that's totally fine too. Now let's talk about what the interviewers will probably want to know and ask about your project. So first off, they'll want to know what format you chose and why you chose that format. So really, as you're building, make sure that you're thinking about like why you're choosing to make something a video versus like a written text. You want to make sure that you are choosing the best format for the type of content you're creating, whether it's like a job aid or whether you're like creating a course. That's super important to just pay attention to and be able to like defend your choice. You're also going to want to make sure that you're keeping track of how you're going about planning and building and creating your course, because when you present your course, they're going to want to know your process, how you thought about going about the course building and course design process, and really what choices you made that ultimately ended up with like what you're presenting to them. Another thing they're going to look for is your like course building skills. So they're going to want to check, is your content organized? Does it flow well for the learner? Is your writing clear? Did you use graphics and other like illustrations appropriately. They really are going to want to see like your thought process behind everything that you include, because you don't want to just throw in random things because you think that, you know, you need more stuff in a course or in your like project. They want to see how you're thinking about that learner journey and what's best for the learner, and like what can help keep the content engaging and yet simplified enough to where, you know, it's really accessible for the intended audience. As a hot tip, one thing I've seen happen in people who are presenting their take-home projects is they actually are going through the presentation and like reading the presentation word for word. That's not really advised. You can give a high-level summary of like what you built and like kind of skip through the content, but really what the interviewers are focusing on is like the design choices and your thought process behind the actual content, because they're already familiar with the content that they've given you, so you don't really need to teach them anything. They want to know like about how you built the thing that, you know, you're teaching and presenting them. So yeah, that's kind of a little bit of an overview of the most common instructional design take-home project. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. And I hope you'll have a great rest of your day. I do have my book about how to build an online course listed below. If you're interested, feel free to check it out.